Get ready for some upbeat banter, plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of love for the game and our team. This is Buds and Blue Jays. And now your hosts, Riley McConnell and Jesse Burrell.
Good evening, everybody. It is Wednesday, August 14th, and welcome to episode 202 of Buds and Blue Jays. It's your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. It's the Jesse Show yet again here. Jesse Turiso and Jesse Burrell joining you for this episode here, and we've got a lot to get to in this series. Will Wagner is here, and what a debut he has been having. We will get into all the details from his incredible debut, what his future might look like with the team, all that and so much more. George Springer is getting mad at umpires. There's a guy with the last name Guerrero hitting nukes into Angel Stadium. Tell me if you've seen that before. And then we do some deeper stuff. We take a look at the Blue Jays prospects. Maybe it's time for this team to tank, to get better draft picks. And then we do the debate on whether or not this team should go with the six-man rotation. All that and more on this episode. But first, Jesse, what's up, my guy? How you feeling tonight?
Well, definitely enjoying Will the Thrill. And it's definitely fun to see, like, the Blue Jays just playing like carefree and just having some fun out there for once, and definitely can't enjoy them. If only they did this all year.
Boy, it's amazing. The Jays went from like the oldest team in the American League. I think now we're down to like the 12th youngest team, and the youth movement that has come through this Toronto Blue Jays team has actually made these games a lot more fun to watch, which is something I did not think was going to happen during the course of the year. Caveat, Game 3 of this series is currently happening right now. We are live while it's happening. The Jays are winning 3-0. Jose Barrios just hit Kevin Pillar with the pitch, so we've got the game on behind us. If something does happen while this game is live, hey, stick with us. We'll live react to it. We'll have our instant live reaction. You never know. We have to do these a few times and all this stuff. But hey, glad to have it. Jesse, my man, are you ready to get into the heart of the show?
Let's go.
Okay, well, 2 minutes in, we've got to talk about Will Wagner, my guy, and what a start he has had to his Blue Jays career. 5 hits in his first 2 games, 2 doubles. The exit velocity is off the chart from Will Wagner. All this guy has done throughout the minor leagues has hit. And man, let me tell you, like, even just looking at the eye test, that bat speed looks so good. The contact he makes seems so loud. Like, I'm thoroughly impressed by Will Wagner, but you're more the prospects guy here, Jesse. I want to hear what your thoughts are on Will Wagner's incredible debut here.
As I just said, Will the Thrill, like, just seeing how hard he's hitting the ball, the bat speed, even the defensive play he made on that shot, hit up the middle in the first game, like snagging that ball, getting the out effort. Oh, like, he's everything that I read and heard about him. He's showing in his first 2 games, and it's like it feels like almost what we had with David Schneider last year.
Right.
But I feel like this one actually will last more than a calendar year and go moving forward. And yeah, and I think the funniest part is how he almost forgot about his family and getting them tickets.
Yeah, that is funny. I didn't see that part. I know he had his dad up in the broadcast booth and they were sharing stuff like that and all the cool neats. It's good to have a guy like this up into our system to provide a spark. We saw what Davis Schneider did last season when he had his spark, and it really boosted the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, we're not going to the playoffs or anything like that still. It's going to be a long ways away, but it's nice that we can see this boost of energy from Will Wagner. We saw the stat. It was going around. They talked about it on the broadcast that Will Wagner, 5 hits in his first 2 games as a Blue Jay. There's only 5 other Toronto Blue Jays that have done that in their career. And Jesse, I thought this would be a good time to get a heat check to kind of think, what type of player do we think Will Wagner is going to be? So I'm going to list off a few players that have got off to very hot starts in their Blue Jays career. Some of them have been very good. Some of them have kind of flamed out. And I want you to tell me whether or not you think Will Wagner will have a better career than this player. Got it?
Got it.
Okay, first one, Danny Ainge, who is very young, back in the early expansion era of the Toronto Blue Jays. Will Wagner going to be better than him?
Oh, definitely, because Danny Ainge is now in the NBA.
That's right. I don't think Will Wagner is going to have the same basketball career Danny Ainge had, but quite good in this one. Next one, Lloyd Moseby. Now, Lloyd Moseby had a fantastic career. He was part of the Blue Jays core outfield for the 80s. Do we think Will Wagner is going to be that good of a player?
I would love to, especially because of like what he means to what it would mean to the franchise if he's like Lloyd Moseby. Because everyone thinks of the '85 Jays of like Barfield, Mosby, and all that,
Yeah.
and George Bell, like of that outfield. It's like if he can have that type of legacy, that'd be great. Do I think so? No, not really, but I would definitely accept it.
Hard to go. Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. I don't think he's going to fly that high as a career. This next guy, though, Jesse, I think might be a little more interesting, and we could actually have a debate on whether or not we think that's going to go. But Eric Hinsky, and Blue Jays fans know him as the only Blue Jay, I believe, to ever win Rookie of the Year. He never quite got up to his Rookie of the Year numbers, but he had a good career. He was a league average OPS plus of 99, hit 137 home runs, bounced around, played in the big leagues for over a decade, won a few World Series. Do we think it's possible that Will Wagner has a career like that?
I could definitely see, like, I would say yes, but I hope he doesn't just have that one flash in the pants season like he did when he won the Rookie of the Year in 03.
Mm-hmm.
I would love, like, if he can play 10 plus years, be a league average or better, I'd be totally fine with that, and I would love to see him stay as a Blue Jay for those whole 10 years.
Okay, I'm with you there. I think that's a very interesting comp here. Some other Blue Jays that were kind of in that same era, maybe a little later, JP Arencibia. And if you want to talk about all-time Blue Jays debuts, I remember JP Arencibia's as one of the best I've ever had. His career kind of flamed out. He ended up with 0.1 WAR. I think if we're comparing Will Wagner to Eric Hinsky, I think we're going to be better than Arencibia, right?
Oh, definitely. But it would have been cool to see him have a 3 home run game like Arencibia in a debut. But then again, that was against the lowly Rays back then. So, but yeah, he'll definitely be better than Arencibia.
Okay, and then Brett Lawrie. Remember when he came up and how excited we were for Brett Lawrie to come in here? He got off booming, really started hot. Then we traded him to Oakland and never really figured it out. I could see a similar path here with Will Wagner and how Brett Lawrie's career went. Do you think Will Wagner is going to be better than this or worse than what Brett Lawrie had in his career?
I would say better just because, like, realistically, Brett Lawrie was just more of a fan favorite or the streaming teenage girls' favorite baseball player just because
Russian Red Bulls, right? I
remember when he came up and all the girls were having like his like jerseys or T-shirts and they just didn't even know really much ball. They just knew he was the young hockey guy with tattoos on the Jays.
Hey, he hit 9 home runs in those 43 games at the end of 2021 and looked really good and followed it up with a decent season the year after, but never got back to this rookie season level. So I'd love to see Will Wagner put up a better career like that, but I think that should be our baseline for what our expectations are of Will Wagner going forward here. I'm excited. And in the small sample size, I don't want to take anything away from that, but in his 8 at-bats, he's faced 5 at-bats against the righty, 3 at-bats against the lefty. He's 5 for 5 against the righty and 0 for 3 against the lefties. So maybe explains why he's not in the lineup here today. And you can't judge anything of an 8 at-bat sample size, so give it with a grain of salt. But it's worth noting he might have some platoon splits going on.
Well, those khakis got their way to take him out today when he was taking out the hot hand,
which we've talked about several times over the course of this series. I don't think I agree with that either, especially because the way the Blue Jays line up, we have a lot of lefties. Some lefties are going to have to play. Addison Barger finally gets a start today, and it's against a lefty. So, why couldn't it have been Will Wagner? I don't know. It's beyond me. Well, we can discuss that in the offseason as we go. But in terms of the Blue Jays that are currently on this roster now, the Blue Jays really have an interesting core of young players who are all kind of vying for the same few playoff spots or position spots on this roster right now. So out of these 5 hitters, Jesse, I want you to rank them on who you think will have the best Major League Baseball career. Spencer Horwitz, Will Wagner, Joey Loperfido, Addison Barger, and Davis Schneider. I want you to rank the 5 of them.
I will say Spencer Horwitz 1.
Okay.
I'll go Will Wagner 2.
Okay.
Barger 3. Loperfido 4. Then Schneider 5.
Interesting. Wow. Remember, Davis Schneider already has 2 WAR under his belt because for how hot he was last season. But he just looks so lost lately, right?
Yeah, but he can't even hit a beach ball right now. near can Low Profino, but Low Profino has only 40 games under his belt, so.
Right, and I still have faith in Joey Loperfido. I think I'm going to rank those. I agree, Spencer Horwitz 1. I might go Joey Loperfido 2, just because if he can ever get the bat on ball going a little bit, I still love a lot of the tools. Will Wagner 3, Davis Schneider 4, and then Addison Barger 5, just because the Blue Jays just aren't playing Addison Barger at all. And I want to get into that a little bit here too, because we've talked about this on episodes before, that the plan for the Toronto Blue Jays going forward needs to be let these kids play. Let's see what they can do. Even if they're not going to be part of your next big major Toronto Blue Jays team, at least show they have some value. So maybe you can flip them to get some pitching in the offseason if you're truly going to compete. And Addison Barger's not doing much sitting on the bench. So I thought tonight's lineup was closer, but not quite there.
Oh, I agree. I saw the lineup. I'm like, first thing I said is you're taking out Wagner. Let the kids play. Just let him. Maybe give Loperfido a chance in center and just have Varsho off and keep Wagner in, because again, he's 5 hits in his first 2 games. Just let him see what he can do against the lefty, more than other than 3 at bats. And you have Barger and Schneider's in. I'm I wouldn't even like I've been saying, he needs to go down in AAA. Then if you need another outfielder, you have Burrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was great to see him play in the first game. It's just frustrating. There's we have so much young talent right now on the bench, but it's all the same players that are playing that have really not done much this season for us, other than Vladdy and Horwitz.
Right. That's the thing. We know kind of what we're getting from George Springer. At least we think we do, right? We don't really need to. If he were just to go on, if the Blue Jays were all right, George Springer, take 3 weeks off, go on a nice vacation with your family or something, and then come back, that would be great. And it can get these Blue Jays players a lot more playing time. Same with Varsho. We know what Varsho's getting, but I want him to play because he needs to get enough innings in center field to make sure he wins that Gold Glove. But it's a good problem to have, I guess. So many interesting players in this Toronto Blue Jays team that we all want to get a look at right now. So we will see how these lineups continue to get shaken out going forward here. Jesse, let's talk about some of the other hitters in this series, other than Will Wagner, who is obviously the star of the series so far. Anyone else really catch your attention here?
As we're speaking, Varsho just went deep, which
off a lefty. Yeah, Dalton Varsho, 3-run dinger. Let's go.
So they're Vladdy's there's Vladdy, but even Spencer Horwitz is and even today too with Ernie Clement, there's been, I can't really put my finger on just one. It's been a real group effort. I found in these first 2.5 games. It's there's not just one player other than Will Wagner, but it's been a group effort. Leo Jimenez getting a homer.
Yep.
It's been I was where has this whole offense as a whole team been all year? That's what makes it frustrating right now.
I think a lot of that is the Angels starting pitching dude is just really bad. Carson Fulmer is not a good pitcher. I don't even remember who they started in game 1. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Davis Daniels in game 1. Anderson's supposed to be their big guy, but the Blue Jays have just teed him off for 6 runs here in the thing, including a nice curveball hit from Dalton Varsho. That's encouraging to see. Dalton Varsho actually 0 for 8 coming into this game in this series, so good to see that home run coming from him. Other home runs you've talked about in this series, Ernie Clement hit one in game 3. He hit one earlier today. That was his first home run since before the All-Star break, back when the Jays were in San Francisco. So it's good to see Ernie Clement get that, who's quietly just been a hit machine for the Toronto Blue Jays. You talked about Leo Jimenez, who hit one. And okay, so when I watch Leo Jimenez play, he's good on defense. I am not sold nearly at all, I think, about the offensive talent that this guy has. That home run, congratulations. First home run in your big league career. I understand he's young, and I understand that the on-base tool was his calling card coming up through the farm system. But that home run was only a home run in 3 out of 30 ballparks. Now, this one was one of them, so great. He also hit a double, which was kind of just blooped down the line. I'm not sold in Leo Jimenez really being more than what Santiago Espinal was for this team. And maybe just because I don't believe in the upside, I'm not sure I'm completely sold on Leo Jimenez being a stud here.
I definitely like he's like some of the defensive plays we've seen him make has been great. And again, it's like his bat is very very spotty at best. Like it's like you were saying, like he'll run into one here and there, but like I think it was perfect comp. You saying Espinal for Leo Jimenez.
Yeah, he does have some doubles. Like he will run into a few every now and again, but the exit velocity is not that high, and he's taking his walks. I don't know. We'll see. But I think he's a guy who could probably sit on the bench a little bit more while we try to get other guys into this series. Jesse, I got to talk as we have every series, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr., holy crap, man. His home run he hit in game 2 of this series, it was his 24th of the season. I made the reference off the top that a guy named Guerrero is hitting home runs at Angel Stadium. Fantastic, a place where his dad hit forever. And it was a hanging curveball he hit off Carson Fulmer. And I just want to say, aesthetically, watching Vladimir Guerrero Jr. crush and fully extend on those pitches and watching maybe it's just Angel Stadium is a very nice spot to watch a ballpark and watch a baseball fly. It looked very nice, and still some of the most aesthetically pleasing home runs are the placatas that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is hitting.
Oh, I 100% agree on that. Like it felt like we were back in 07 seeing his dad do it. It was like I felt like I was in a time machine seeing that. But like, what was even cool is like right after that we had Horwitz go back to back with them.
Yeah, second time this year the Blue Jays have gone back to back. The first one was with Vlad and Justin Turner early in the season, so it was good to see them do that again.
Oh yeah, so it's definitely fun to see like the long ball that we've been missing all year.
All right, and just other notes on the offensive side of the ball. I don't have much because we've already talked about a lot of them, assuming something else happens in this series here. But you mentioned Stuart Baroa getting the start in game 1. We haven't seen him play much, but I did want to note, even though he didn't get a hit, he drew 3 walks in that game. So his official line was 0 for 1 with 3 base on balls. That is something you love to see from a guy who doesn't play much, who's probably your 5th outfielder on the roster right now, but a guy who can come in and still put together a good game for you. We've talked about Baroa. We like Baroa, and this game in that series made me even like him a little bit more.
Oh, no, exactly. Like for someone to have the eye like that, being on the bench for so long and like not really seeing any at bats. You would think he'd be hacking, trying to get his hits to get more playing time, but no, he was just patient and waiting for his pitches and drawing the walks because he knows one of his best weapons is his speed to cause havoc. And I feel like the Jays will just keep him to be like what I said in previous episodes, the second coming of Ezekiel Carrera to Vladdy's second coming of Edwin.
Hey, every championship baseball team needs a guy like that, and I feel like Stuart Baroa has very much clamped himself on that roster. All right, anything else? George Springer, by the way, hasn't done a lot with the bat in the series here. He did just have a fly ball that almost went out, but was caught at the warning track. But did you see his freak out he had after getting hit by a pitch, but also reviewed not getting hit by a pitch in game 2 of this series?
Oh, it was great. Especially, I definitely enjoyed Vladdy using his offensive line skills. Like if a ball will do you a nice pass block to keep Springer from getting at the ump there. And what I even laughed at too during that whole time was Caleb Joseph catching himself before he swore on the TV. That was
okay, off track here, but Caleb Joseph seems to be having the most fun in that broadcast booth that I've ever seen a Blue Jays announcer have in quite a long time. He's loving that he gets to go up there. But back to the George Springer incident. For those of you who didn't see it, it was a big looping curveball that hit him in the back foot. George Springer knew he got hit. It was quite obvious from us watching on TV that he got hit. Both the Blue Jays broadcast and the Angels broadcast were like, yep, he got hit. Turn to the umpire. Apparently the umpire said, hey, the way Logan O'Hoppe kind of shuffled his feet, we didn't quite see it. So just go to review and you'll see it. And George Springer's like, okay, well, I got hit. Take it to review. And they did. And I don't know what is happening in New York. I feel like they just make stuff up sometimes, but they determined that they couldn't conclusively tell that George Springer got hit by a pitch, which everybody in the ballpark, everyone knew he did. And that's why he got mad. I've never seen George Springer that mad before. Like even when he was going through his extended slump early in the season, yeah, you'd see him occasionally throw a bat against the wall or chuck his helmet down, but he was really going at this guy. Good to see passion, I guess, from George Springer. Do you have a take on his antics there?
Oh, it was definitely great to see like a player get fired up like that, because it's been a while since we've seen J player like literally do that. Like the only one I can think of being that heated like that was back again, bringing back Brett Laurie when he slammed his helmet and hit the ump. Like that's the last time I can remember a Jay being so heated, being like called out on strike. But like it's ridiculous. I just say the New York is just a bunch of Yankee fans, so they don't want to help us in the AL East. So
that's a conspiracy theory I can get behind 100%. All right, Jesse, we have some interesting starting pitching performances in this series, but before we dive deep into the interesting things that both Kevin Gausman, Bowden Francis, and I guess currently Jose Barrios are doing, I wanted to ask you a question. Is it a good idea for the Blue Jays to maybe go to a 6-man rotation for the rest of the season, probably inserting Jake Bloss in there as the 6th guy? Before I give my explanations, answer the question. Do you think the Jays should do that?
I 100% agree on it.
Okay,
one to give Jake Bloss the experience, like more reps in the major league, since he got rushed to it by Houston. Like, give him some more reps. See what Pistol Pete Walker can do with him in the like on the side sessions and all that. Let him work there. It'll maybe give us the opportunity to finally stretch out Yariel Rodriguez. Like I was saying, he needs to get stretched out if he's going to be a front-end rotation guy or mid-rotation. Also, he could give Barrios, Gausman, and Bassett, who have all been workhorses, a little extra day to recover, even though it's not like we're needing them for a stretch on our pennant race. But I just think it could benefit, and even it could help Bowden Francis too. Like keep his groove going with like how he's been the last 3 starts for him. So like I think
I agree. Yeah,
it would definitely be the best idea, and you have other people too, just in case. Say someone goes down, you have like Yarbrough who can start it and all that. So
the problem is if one of those pitchers do go down, we're 1 minute away from Paulo Espino being a regular in this rotation and something like that. But I agree with you with the 6-man thing for the exact reasons you said. We need to get an extended look at Yariel Rodriguez, who John Schneider actually talked about today. He thinks it's almost time for the gloves to come off on Yariel, because if he's going to be a starter for you next year, you need to get that inning count up a little higher and show that he can go through. We've talked about this every time Yariel Rodriguez is a start. I don't think our stance has changed. Bowden Francis the same way, right? He's come off a couple really good starts in a row. We'll dive deep on his start coming up next here, and I agree. But your 3 main guys, your Chris Bassett, your Kevin Gausman, your Jose Barrios, all 3 of them are top 20 in the American League in innings pitched so far this year. And you want to get them high enough that if you need them to go 180 innings next year, that they're not making too big of a jump. But at the same point, like, you know what Kevin Gausman is, at least we think. We know what Jose Barrios is. We know what Chris Bassett is. I don't think we need to really see them every 5th day if we're still going up. Give these guys a little bit of an extra rest, because since 2022, those 3 pitchers have pitched more innings than any other trio in the American League. So I think going 6-man might be a very smart move for the Toronto Blue Jays, especially once rosters expand on the 1st.
No, exactly. And another thing we didn't mention, but I'll mention it now. It's like, is Gausman fully healthy? Is Bassett fully healthy with how they've been pitching this year? So it's like could they be dealing with something? Because like remember when Bassett got hit in the arm by Judge then he got hit last start against Oakland in the leg. Like, are you really that healthy? And like he always looks like he's in pain.
It's true. Chris Bassett is the same way. Like, he doesn't look comfortable when he's out there on the mound. But let's talk a little bit about the 2 performances we've seen in this series, Kevin Gausman and Bowden Francis. And I don't know, Jesse, I'll let you go first. Which one would you like to talk about first?
I'll talk about good old Bowden Francis.
Okay,
one I thought would be a top 10 Cy Young. Like, this is a prime example why I thought he could be getting like top 10 votes in the Cy Young with this performance and how he was in spring training. Like, going 7 innings, for 7 strikeouts. It was like just he was dominant. Like all his pitches were like clicking, and he's ever since he went back in the rotation in Baltimore, like he's had a almost like a me against the world type of attitude, and I love it. Like this outing just literally cemented for me that he needs to be in serious contention for a rotation spot, especially with our depleted health in like the system and all that.
I love how you anticipate the questions I'm going to ask you before I even ask them to you. He made a very interesting. It might be, yes. He made a very interesting pitch mix change in this one. We saw him break out the sinker for the first time this season, and probably since his whole time in the majors. I knew he threw it in the minors a little bit, but he never threw it in the major leagues, and I thought that was quite interesting. His curveball, which we talked a lot about last season, how we thought it was a plus pitch, had just been getting hit too much this year, so he just decided to mix it up through the splitter more, as we saw his start at home against Baltimore when he struck out 7 over 5 innings pitched. And then we saw him do this here, 7 innings, only giving up 1 hit, and it was on a solo home run. I want to remind you as well that in Bowden Francis' time in the minor leagues, he had a whip under 2, I think at 0.94 ERA. Even going back last year, like his career minor league ERA, I don't have this exact number, so I'm apologize if I'm wrong, but it's like low 2s, high 1s. Like Bowden Francis has a good minor league track record. So whenever he comes here and does something like this in the big leagues, it should catch your attention a little bit.
No, exactly. And like, even for pitchers and like pitchers and batters, the difference between AAA and the majors has never been more farther apart than it is now compared to what it used to be.
Yeah,
like back then you used to have like 37-year-olds Paulo Espinos all over the AAA levels and play and different pitchers. Like I remember when the Jays had Derek Holland in Buffalo and all that. And just all the Drew Hutchinson, like players like that in AAA, not these young kids who are barely out of high school already and wouldn't have finished university, like and coming against men who are been in the league, or it's like there's such a difference. So like a lot of people are griping about, they can't pitch, so they're not going to be stars, or they can't hit.
Right.
There is such a big difference. Like I'm going to use a AL rival in the Orioles. Look at the difference when Jackson Holiday first went to the came up to now his second stint.
Or even Addison Barger when he had his first little stint down there, right? And just think about it too. Like the pitchers that are pitching in AAA right now aren't even like if your 5 best pitchers are pitching in the major leagues, it's not like pitchers 6 through 10 on the depth chart are pitching in Buffalo either. Like the guys that are down there are just down there for a little bit, just waiting for a chance to get called back up. So the pitchers you are facing in AA are probably like each team's pitchers like 9 through 14, the ones you're seeing regularly at least. And that's a very different level of facing those guys all the time versus coming up and having to face like a Grayson Rodriguez or a Garrett Cole or something like that.
Or like a Paul Stevens and stuff like that. Like exactly. It's like the type of pitching you face in the majors. And this is like how they're saying Trey Savage could be something like that. I'm not going to hold my breath on that because Paul Skeens and even Jake Bloss, those are rare cases. If Savage can be that, great. But that's like a needle in a haystack. Like the difference is just so astronomical now.
All right. It's good that we pointed this out. I did want to touch on that, and that could explain that might honestly explain why what Will Wagner has been doing so far this season, very much more impressive than it usually is. But Kevin Gausman, I want to talk about him here, getting back on track. Back-to-back good starts for him now. 7 innings pitched in this one, 6 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, 5 Ks. Second start in a row that Kevin Gausman has now gone 7+ innings. He hadn't done that since last May. His first time he's allowed 0 runs in a start since his complete game shutout against Oakland. And he's really gotten into the pitch to contact mode, Kevin Gausman, because he's not getting the strikeouts anymore. And I feel like this is Kevin Gausman realizing, hey, my stuff's not that good. Maybe he is still battling with a little bit of injury. Maybe his velocity is just down a little bit from aging. And he's trying to just pitch a little bit differently. You see this with a lot of starting pitchers as they get later in their careers. They learn to pitch to contact, and then they add a few more years of longevity on their career. And I wonder if this is going to be the new quote unquote Kevin Gausman we get going forward, relying more on that two-seam action on his fastball to induce more ground balls. 11 ground ball outs in this start, by the way, too. Third most he's had in a start this season. So notable for Kevin Gausman and something to watch for going forward.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like we were saying last week or the Orioles series, like, is he doing what former Jay, again, Hyun-Jin Ryu did, where he realized his stuff isn't going to strike out everyone that, so might as well stay in the zone, use what you have, get weak contact, and rely on the defense you have behind you. And if your defense is solid enough, you'll go deep, and that means also less pitches you're throwing if they're hitting it too. It's like you're not having to strike out people, like, because if you strike out everyone, you're throwing at least 3 to 5 pitches, even or more, at it, like each at bat. So it's like you're saving your arm too if you're pitching to contact.
It's very interesting to see, and I want to see if we can get more of that going forward. And I also want to point out too, he's got where's his stat here? Oh, a 4.20 ERA on the season, but his FIP and his stuff since July looks closer like a low 3s ERA pitcher. So he'll be an interesting talking point going into next season. But there are some good things we're seeing from Kevin Gausman here, and I don't want to shut it down. Jose Barrios I don't have much on him because the start is still going, but he's through 5. He's given up 1 solo home run, only 4 hard hits allowed. It's tough to really watch him as we're trying to record here and also have the game on in the background, but I think you've got to like what you've seen from Jose Barrios so far, right?
Definitely, he's in line for a win now. Like, going through 5, he's only given up 1 home run, which
and a solo one at that.
Exactly, and like the whole saying, you can live by the home runs as long as they're solo ones, because a solo home run can't beat you unless you don't score a run. And Jace actually put up a number today, so I think we're good if we give up 1 solo home run.
Yeah, and it looks like just from the data so far, the slurve looks to be working well. He's got 9 swings on it, 4 swings and miss on that pitch, and they're not making much contact with it at all. And yeah, the average exit velocity isn't too high against Barrios either, just the 4 hard hit balls so far. So that could all change in 1 inning, as we've seen with Jose Barrios before, but it has looked pretty good so far. All right, Jesse, I have no notes on the bullpen, except 2 of our relievers gave up solo home runs. Chad Green, Eric Swanson. We've talked about both those guys last episode. I don't think our opinion on either of them has really changed too much, has it?
No. I guess in a way, it's no news is good news for the bullpen or the blowpen, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
nice piece of base running here by I believe that's Ernie Clement to score on a Leo Jimenez sac fly. So 7-1 Blue Jays now.
Well, and the one thing Ernie can do, hit the ball, and really good base running too.
Mm-hmm. So very notable. But the other guys in the bullpen, yeah, just the bullpen sucks. Thank God our pitchers are pitching well, so we don't have to see them too much, right?
Exactly. Like the pitchers the stars can actually perform, so it limits the times we actually have to see the likes of Zach Poop and the bullpen.
Yes, good call. Notable, they still might get to pitch in this series, so maybe this 6-run lead the Blue Jays have might not be safe, but we can hope. All right, 2 more segments to get to before the end of this episode here. And Jesse, I went out on a nice bike ride today. I did a 60K ride, and I was just thinking about the Blue Jays, which I do way more often than I probably should. And I had this thought, this has been a lost season for the Toronto Blue Jays. Yes, they still have some things to play for, but we're not going to the playoffs. We're in the last in the AL East. I had the thought maybe it might be best for the Blue Jays just to try to throw in the towel, to tank a little bit, to try to get some better draft lottery odds here, to really maximize anything. Because the Blue Jays in the last few drafts have been picking between like the 15 and 25 range, and that could explain why our farm system isn't as good as it should be. The last time we had a high pick in the draft, we used it to pick Austin Martin, who we used to acquire to get Jose Barrios. So I would say that's a good use of prospect capital. So I'm going to ask you the question, should the Blue Jays just really throw in the towel even more this season and try to tank to give themselves the best odds at getting a high draft pick in this draft? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm a person that, like, who hates the thought of tanking like in my own life and like just throwing a towel in because even if I'm down 10, you're not taking me off the field unless I'm on a stretcher.
Right.
But like I'm super competitive in that sense, so it doesn't sit well for me in the sense of just I don't like the sense of it in other sports too. But if it benefits the Jays, I could be more swayed to do it. But I don't. I would say tank, but not to tank. If that makes sense, like make it like not so obvious.
I mean, I think it's hard to execute anyway because all the players on the field are still playing for something. They're trying to earn money through arbitration, right? So their stats still count for them to make more money. They're fighting for a roster spot on next year's team. Like, you can't convince the guys in the field to be like, hey, maybe I should suck a little bit down the stretch here so that for the Blue Jays get a prospect who won't even be playing with me by the time they're ready 5 years from now. So in theory, it's not going to work. John Schneider's not going to make worse managerial decisions just for the chance of them getting a better player 5 years from now. Like, it's just not going to make sense.
No,
but
exactly.
Yeah. But if
you also can't be as bad as the White Sox.
Right. But the way the CBA is, the White Sox and the Oakland A's actually can't pick in the top 10 right now. So as things currently stand right now, the Blue Jays would be sitting 7th. In fact, our win against the Angels yesterday gave us a better record than the Texas Rangers, which has them in there. But if you look in the standings across Major League Baseball, the Rockies, Marlins, and the Angels are all right there. But then there's a group of like 5 teams. It's us, Pittsburgh, who's lost 10 in a row, by the way, the Texas Rangers, the Detroit Tigers, and the Washington Nationals. Those 5 teams are all within 2 games of each other. And the difference is if we come at the bottom of that and we come 4th, we have about an 11% pick at the number 1 seed. And if we come top of that, it's only down to 3%. So it's not nothing. And you never know, 11% still isn't very high, but it's a lot better than 3% at getting that top overall pick. So maybe something late into the season down the stretch, you might see the Blue Jays try to do.
No, definitely. Like if we can finally get our first overall pick, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Even because if you look at the ones that have gone recently, you got Jackson Holiday, you have Paul Skeens, you have Adley Rutschman.
Drew Jones was an early
2.
pick, and he was number 2. Spencer Torkelson went number 1 overall. He hasn't had the career
They got
he thought he would.
Davis from
Henry Davis from Pittsburgh. Yep.
Yes, there's some there is some franchise changing players. Yes, it could be a few years away, but again, or you can use that player like how the Braves ended up with Dansby Swanson when they the Diamondbacks traded him for Shelby Miller.
Right, exactly. So, and the Blue Jays have been known to, when they think they're going for it, to trade their prospect capital. So they have plans to do this. So it's just very interesting. Just get guys in the system, right? And getting a top pick of the draft too. Plus, on top of it, with baseball being weird, you get more bonus pool money. You know, you get better comp picks and yada yada and all that stuff that comes with having a higher draft pick and all that stuff. But just something to keep in mind as we do some big picture stuff for the Toronto Blue Jays. Speaking of prospects, Jesse, the trade deadline is over, the draft is over, and then MLB.com has finally re-ranked the Blue Jays' top prospects, and I have their top 10 list ready to go, and I'm going to reveal it for you here. Do you want to take a guess at what you think the top order is going to be, or should I just read them off to you?
I'll definitely say it'll probably be Orelvis, Jake Bloss, Wagner, trying to think of who else we got. Probably Clause's there. Roden, Robertson.
No, yeah. See, not quite. They're all on the top 30, but they're not in the top 10. Here's how MLB.com ranked the Blue Jays' top prospects. He nailed the first one. Orelvis Martinez, number 1 still. Did technically make the major leagues, but his suspension kind of got in the way of him doing anything else. Number 2 on this list was the first-round pick from this year, Trey Savage. Comes in as the Blue Jays' second best prospect. Jake Bloss, who he got in the Kikuchi trade, is 3. And then Ricky Tiedemann's fallen to 4, mostly just because he hasn't been able to stay on the field. Now that he's gone for Tommy John, we won't see him at all next year. And I think we've talked about it on the course of his injury that he'll be 25 by the time he actually is able to pitch again. So maybe falling down the list. Arun Namala, who just hit his 13th home run of the season, is number 5. Leo Jimenez, who will soon be graduating off this list with more big league time, is number 6. Number 7, Jonathan Clase, who we got in the Jimmy Garcia trade. Cal Stevens was a second-round pick this year, comes in at 8. Charles McAdoo, who we got in the Isaiah Kiner-Falefa trade, is up to 9. And then Adam Macko, who's hurt right now, but we got in the Teoscar Hernandez trade, rounds out the top 10. Any interesting thoughts there or placements from those players?
A couple of players I totally forgot about that were in our system and stuff like that, and I wasn't even thinking about like I knew about McAdoo and all that, but I was, because where he was before when we first traded for him, he was low teens, high 20s, and now he's up to the top. But that probably helps too with his season he's having this year. But
he's had a really good year. Yeah.
And there's also again, I totally not gonna lie, I kind of forgot about Arjun Nimala. Even though I'm the prospect guy, he's in Dunedin. It's almost because there's so many players you see in the low A, it's hard to keep track of. And
he's still so young is the thing too, right? He's still so
18,
far away.
He's 18, and there's one player I forgot was still in our system, but I just saw something on him was Manuel Beltre.
Yeah, who's also been in our system for forever. He's kind of fallen off. He's not even on the Blue Jays top 30 anymore, but another name like that has just been in here in the system for forever for the Toronto Blue Jays team. My interesting thing of note there too is I'm always surprised when I see Leo Jimenez so high on these lists. We talked about him earlier, and my points still stand from him, but I think they just love the defense, and I think these prospect lists, I feel like they value defense more than anything else. Because if you can play a good center field defense or shortstop defense for Leo Jimenez, they really seem to value that. Jonathan Clase at 7. I think he could be a legit guy. I think if you were to look at this list 5 years from now, Jonathan Clase is going to be much higher on this list.
I agree. I think because I feel like coming out of spring, he could be pushing for a roster spot, especially with the speed and power he has. Mm-hmm. And I definitely can see him coming up in September, even though we have a cluster of outfielders, but just to see what he can do. And because he had a sip of coffee with Seattle. Yeah. I definitely think he could be someone we'll see very soon.
I agree very much. September call-ups are on the way. They'll probably call up one pitcher, one relief pitcher. I think our guests are probably Clase and probably Jake Bloss. It'll be something like that as we get into September. The Blue Jays begin a stretch now of, I believe it's 16 games in 15 days because we have that condensed game or that replay game with the Boston Red Sox in there. So a big stretch. The Blue Jays don't have another off day until the 2nd of September. Maybe another reason for the Blue Jays to go with a 6-man rotation going forward. But now, after this, we're on to Wrigley Field. Jesse, it's a place the Blue Jays don't get to too much. I know some Blue Jays fans that have gone there. I was supposed to go there this year, but plans fell through, unfortunately.
I was supposed to go to, and then we ended up at Fenway.
Yeah, hey, Fenway is a great spot to go to as well. Do you have a prediction or something you want to see from the Blue Jays this weekend series in Fenway? Or not in Fenway, at Wrigley?
I would definitely love to see Vlad hit one out of the stadium and break one of the windows in that apartment behind the.
Sure.
Yeah, it'd be great to see that. Like I said when we went into the Orioles series, and that just win, make it fun, make it competitive. I don't right now. Just make it enjoyable to watch, and not a freaking dumpster fire like the Oakland series was.
Well, the Friday start, Yariel Rodriguez against Kyle Hendricks is an Apple TV game, so you won't be able to watch that anyway. And then we get Chris Bassett against Justin Steele, and then Bowden Francis against Shota Imanaga. So some very interesting games the Blue Jays are going to see. And then we got to come around and face Hunter Green, actually, in that first game against Cincinnati. So that'll be interesting to watch there as well. I want to see the Blue Jays play well. It's, I don't know if I want them to win, but I want to see like Will Wagner continue his hot streak. I want to see Addison Barger get into that lineup more. It's the guys we need to see things from continue to show improvement. Like Yariel Rodriguez putting together another good start. Bowden Francis putting together another good start. These are the things you really want to see. And I think probably they go in, they take a lead, our blow pen bowls it, we lose the game. And I feel like that might be how things unfold for the Blue Jays in Chicago this weekend.
No, exactly, and definitely like even though he is a Cubby beat, I'm definitely excited to see what Imanagi really can do. Like and watching him, and like hopefully he like the Jays can light him up, but like it's still like from his stats and what I've seen in highlights, definitely be someone interesting to watch too.
Yeah, a couple lefties. The Blue Jays just hit Tyler Anderson very well. So we'll see a lot of Davis Schneider, I'm sure, this series. And then the righty they're facing is Kyle Hendricks, who I'm pretty sure has an ERA of 49. So it's the Jays bat should be able to do some damage. And we're going to see our old friend Nate Pearson. So that'll be nice.
Hopefully he doesn't hit someone in the head like he did Tyler Stevens.
Right. And he's been giving up a lot of home runs, actually, since his time in Chicago. So maybe he'll just return the favor for us one more time. Nate Pearson, thank you very much. All right, well, that's going to do it for our episode here today. We've got the rest of this Blue Jays game to watch as Jose Barrios is at 69 pitches in the bottom of the sixth inning, so we're going to check out the rest of this game. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. For all of you who are watching live, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for your comments and your interactions on all the sites. Please leave a 5-star review, and you can find our show anywhere you can find podcasts and Buds and Blue Jays. If you happen to be at Baseball Town, I guess tonight when you listen to this, Jesse and I will be going there as well. We lost him and he's back. Yeah. We'll be at the Baseball Town event in Toronto at Danforth with our friends over at the Walk Off podcast. We're going to be there. Come hang out with us, have a drink. We'll be able to talk with you then. And I don't want to make an announcement too yet, but I think we might have Riley McConnell back for our next episode on Sunday. So stay tuned. We're excited for that one. Jesse, anything else to add before we get out of here today?
Well, because I said better myself.
All right. Well, cheers, guys. That'll do it for us. We will be back on Sunday to recap that series in Chicago. Until then, let's go Blue Jays.
Let the kids play in. Thanks, guys.